Welcome back to the second episode of Yoga, the Journey of a Seeker. You know that we ended the first episode with a question about what yoga is. Is it a weight loss program and a health management system or something more? I hope you have given it a thought yourself. Now let's explore the answer together. Have you ever observed that the universe is full of dualities? Light and dark, day and night, warm and cold, masculine and feminine, and so many other such pairs you can easily think of. On the surface, all these pairs seem opposite, but essentially in every pair, both entities are the two ends of the same experience. What looks opposite to us is just the complementary of its counterpart, which brings balance to our experience. For example, anything that feels cold or warm feels so because of the different values of the same attribute, temperature of that object. It is the same characteristic that gives us different experiences at different levels depending on our own temperature. Imagine a scale measuring the temperature and you are at the center of the scale. If you move towards the left or to the right, you will be moving away from the balance. The more you move to either of the sides, the more extreme and uncomfortable will your experience become. And your natural tendency would be to come back closer to the point of balance. Similarly, to have a balance at the universal level, every such duality has to converge to a balancing point. Now let's talk about one more duality, a subtle one this time. The passive and active principles that play their roles in our everyday life. Have you ever realized whatever we do in our life, from simple actions to complex work, everything has two aspects: deciding and being conscious about the actions and actually performing the actions. One is the passive aspect and another is the dynamic aspect. One is the watcher, another is the doer. To make it even simpler to understand, we can take the example of the terms planning and execution by a team to achieve a certain goal. In a team, generally, some people are the planners and some are the executors. Once the planner plans for a certain activity, the execution starts. Then the planners typically only observe the execution. So although they are the ones who caused the execution to be initiated, they are not involved in the execution. They just observe it. Just as for a team, at an individual level also, we have both of these aspects. In yoga, the passive aspect is called consciousness and the active aspect is called energy. Let's understand them a bit more. You must be knowing Einstein and one of his principles that energy and matter are convertible into each other, right? In other words, all physical form of matter that we perceive, including our body, is nothing but a manifestation of energy, isn't it? When the body is at rest, the energy is in the form of potential energy, and when it comes into motion, the same energy becomes our dynamic energy and helps us move. But there is one more thing that we need to move our body. And what's that? Tell me what happens when a person is in coma. Can the person move his hand, listen to a sound, or watch something? Obviously no. But is it so that his hand doesn't have the capability or the required energy to move? And is it like his ears and eyes are not capable of working? No, that's not the case. When the person will wake up from coma, his eyes and ears will start working normally. His hands will move as he would like. Then what is missing right now? What is missing in the state of coma? The consciousness. Even if the eyes are seeing, the consciousness isn't registering the sight. And even if the ears are doing their job of listening, the sound is not registered. This means that the active principle is in place. However, it cannot work because the passive principle is absent or not doing its job of watching or observing. So even though the passive principle doesn't do anything, nothing can be done without it. That's how consciousness is. It does nothing, but nothing is done without it. When you extend the same principle to the cosmic level, the consciousness is referred to as cosmic consciousness, the God, the element which doesn't do anything, but the word doesn't work without him. And please note, I referred to consciousness as he, not it, because we people love to assume that our God is just like us. This assumption makes it easy for us to connect with him, right? So, he is the one because of who we have consciousness, or in simple terms, because of who we are alive. ईश्वर की मर्जी के बिना एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता. By quoting this, many people blame all of their absurd actions onto him, without realizing that he is only the observer. We cannot act without him, yet he is not responsible for our actions. Just as consciousness makes our brain capable of taking decisions, but it is the brain that takes the decisions, not the consciousness. These are the two fundamental principles of this universe. The energy is what creates or manifests itself into creation, and the consciousness is what observes the creation, the observer, present in the whole cosmos. When we say God is omnipresent, this is what we refer to. When the energy separates from consciousness, all forms of life are born. Just as when your energy is confined within your consciousness, you would remain still. The moment it starts moving, you can perform all sorts of complex actions. The more externalized and refined the life becomes, the more it has moved away from its source. Just as the longer the path of a river, the farther it has come from its source of origin. The purpose of yogic practices is to take life back to its source, to take the creation back towards the Creator, or to take you towards your God. And that union is the highest state, the state of yoga. If you noticed it, I said the state of yoga, and I would like to repeat that yoga is a state, not a practice. It cannot be performed. Can you demonstrate to anyone how blissful you feel whenever you feel it? No, it cannot be shown or described, isn't it? It is to experience, and that's what yoga is. But what about the yoga asanas and pranayama practices? What are they for? Well, these practices are the steps of one of the ways which lead us towards the state of yoga or the state of oneness with the Supreme Consciousness. And this path is the path of Hatha Yoga, which is just one of the ways to lead us towards our ultimate goal. We'll briefly talk about the other ways as well, the path of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga in one of the future episodes. But coming back for now, when we say Hatha Yoga is one of the ways, this means that it is definitely possible to reach this higher state without going through the path of Hatha Yoga and without practicing any yoga asanas. However, for today's generation, it has a much needed advantage of solving your health related issues. This becomes extremely important because when you target a higher goal, your body has to support you and not become a blocker in your way. Imagine if your head is aching badly. You won't be able to think of doing your routine work with ease. All you would want is your headache to correct first, isn't it? That's the reason the Hatha Yoga practices are more commonly getting adopted as a health management system these days. But if we think they are limited to it, it will be a gross misinterpretation and understatement, and we will lose a great ancient knowledge that can enable us to realize our source of creation and become one with it. Going forward, we'll keep exploring various concepts that will help you enhance your experience of life, and in the next episode, we will do a deeper dive into consciousness and its different levels. The concept is very simple to understand. only if you experience it. Otherwise, to many, it may not make any sense. So a simple tip for the day, just keep the focus on the work at hand. No matter whether you are in an important meeting, driving your car, taking a bath, or simply eating your meal, just do what you are doing and don't think about anything else unless you are done. As you practice focusing on the work at hand, gradually you will start feeling the difference. You will start feeling what consciousness is. I can tell you right away what difference it would make in your life, but I want you to experience it yourself first, and then we'll talk about it. Stay tuned and have a nice time.